Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you another video. All right, so I just got to watching a really interesting clip on DeJounte Murray possibly going to the Lakers or the Knicks. Shout out to AM Hoops, I believe is his name, who had a really good 7-minute video just now. I watched that. Very entertaining stuff. But I think it was something that he said that prompted me to want to talk. First of all, his point of view is, or rather, the information that he gave us was that Leon Rose, who's president of the Knicks, I believe, and Rich Paul have somewhat of a feud. I didn't know nothing about this. I'm not tapped into that degree, but I can tell you that that puts a real monkey wrench in the idea that DeJounte Murray's just gonna go to the Knicks, because Clutch is DeJounte's management company, and of course, we know that that is Rich Paul and LeBron James and all of them. So that gets in the way of him going to the Knicks. So it is a lot more realistic that if those are the only two teams going after DeJounte, we would have a line drive to get him. Now, the question I have is the trade offers. The trade offers that he put up there. Of course, there's a lot of different variations that you can do for trades. So what he put on the screen could easily be adjusted a million different ways or not done that way at all. But I thought it was really interesting to see what the Knicks would have to offer for DeJounte. R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, and Hartenstein. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, by the way, that would be for DeJounte and Clint Capella. I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm the Knicks, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. There's no way in hell I'm doing that if I'm the Knicks. I'm not giving up R.J. Barrett, Quickly, and Hartenstein. That's too much talent going out just to be bringing back DeJounte Murray and Clint Capella, of whom both are kind of on the Knicks, the Hawks fans' bad side right now. The Hawks fans are talking crazy about Capella because he just got out rebounded severely by Andre Drummond yesterday. And essentially a lot of them want him off the team. And DeJounte, they get mixed, it's mixed signals. I'm getting mixed stuff coming from Atlanta. Essentially, they probably just would be best to turn DeJounte into several players. It's basically what I'm gathering from fans as I look on IG and try to get a temperature in the room for DeJounte. There's a lot of people that like him, but they would much rather see him elsewhere in some cases, and others don't want to trade him at all. It's mixed. But as far as the Lakers are concerned, he threw a trade up there that I know we ain't going for. But he did give two options. But the first trade he said was we'd be sending Austin Reeves and Max Christie to Toronto. OG would be going to Atlanta, and we would be bringing back DeJounte. We're not going to give up Austin, not in that trade. But the other thing would be we'd have like a bunch of picks and stuff like that, pick swaps, whatever the picks would be. I think it's like 2 first-rounders. I don't know how we would do that. I'm not really sure. And sending D'Lo out. And I don't think the Hawks would go for that. So it's like, for me, I think that if that trade does get done, it would be another team thrown in there, putting in a bunch of other stuff that we don't see coming. That's not going to be as simple as one trade, two teams going at. Nah, it wouldn't be. It would be more than that, in my opinion. I think DeJounte Murray would have another suitor too. I'm not saying I have any idea who it would be, but it ain't gonna be just 2 teams, y'all. No. Anybody that remembers DeJounte Murray when he had the point guard position to himself knows he's a lot better than what he looked like as a shooting guard next to Trae Young. He's just better than that, man. That's not his natural position. I said it from the beginning. Yes, he can play the shooting guard. But should he be asked to? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And 2 years later, 3 years later, after that trade was made, I can legitimately say I was right. And none of this surprises me. I didn't think they were going to be any better than average, man. I really didn't. I thought they would be this when the trade was made. So, it's not that those two aren't fantastic. It's just that you don't slap 2 very young point guards together and say make it work with the rest of my garbage, especially if you're an organization like Atlanta. And then on top of that, the rest of their roster just didn't really help the cause at all. I mean, you got Bogey, who also needs a starting position. As we've mentioned, Kobe Buffkin, who also needs a starting position. Got DeAndre Hunter, who's always hurt. You had, up until this year, John Collins, who's always hurt. Now you move him out the way. You got Capella, and then you got Onyeka Okongwu, neither of which stretch the floor. It's just a lot of stuff there that doesn't really. It's a bad roster, man. They got good players, but it's a bad roster. So that's what I look at when I see Atlanta, and I just don't blame their fans for wanting to reimagine the team around Trae Young and Bogey. Because Bogey's really having a fantastic career. I don't know if people are paying attention to him, but he's been fantastic in Atlanta. He was really good in Sacramento for the little bit of minutes that they gave him. And he's turned into something close to an all-star. And if he were to have a backcourt by himself, I'm pretty sure people would realize how lethal of a scorer he's become. In fact, the Lakers may want to try to target him low-key, although Atlanta, like I said, they don't want to let go of him. And I don't blame him. He's playing great. And so it's one of those situations where DeJounte probably be best to just find another place where he can have the point guard position to himself. Now, I was listening to As It Stands earlier today, and he made a very compelling case for why we should go after Zach LaVine instead of DeJounte Murray. And the main thing that I took from him that made me cause for pause is just how the numbers are for DeJounte off the ball. Now, he's been better off the ball this year, but with Atlanta, he has not been good off the ball. But my thing is this, and if you follow me close enough, you've heard me say this. I want Bron to play off the ball. I think Bron is a much better catch and shoot shooter than he is off the dribble right now. Although, obviously, LeBron's been having the ball in his hands his entire career and been asked to facilitate. But my main thing is, if I'm going to get rid of D'Lo, I need somebody to facilitate so that Bron can be off the ball. You know what I mean? Now, the case that As It Stands was making, which I think is a good one, is that Bron's going to likely have the ball in his hands in the playoffs. So the players around him had better be better off the ball than necessarily needing the ball in their hands. Because at the end of the day, when it comes playoff time, it's going to be in his hands. And that's a very compelling argument. But I'm going to tell you this. If for some reason throughout the course of the regular season LeBron goes down, you do not want him and Austin Reeves to have been your only facilitators, because they both need to be scoring the ball, because you ain't going to have the scoring. If you have DeJounte on your team in that scenario, those guys can still be scorers, or if Bron goes down, DeJounte's still making people better, which is the argument that I'm making. So it just depends on what angle you're looking at it from. And I think at the end of the day, I really think LeBron James plays fantastic off the ball. He can cut, he can shoot, catch and shoot. He makes great hockey assists off of the ball. Once the ball comes his way, he can create that way. And given the way the Lakers have been currently constructed, we prefer him to be a better scorer. When he's a scorer, we usually do better than when he's a passer. Now, you can reimagine that immediately if you bring in more scorers, so that can be scared by that truth. And so that's something to take into account. But I just think that it's much safer for me as a fan who's looking at it from my angle to have DeJounte Murray in place, so that if LeBron goes down, I still got an assist maker, getting the ball to Anthony Davis, a guy who can keep Austin Reeves from having to be the guy taking, making plays for everybody, because I don't want Austin Reeves to have to focus on playmaking. No different than I don't want LeBron James to have to focus on playmaking. And so that's my point of view. I think those guys are obviously natural playmakers, but they're combo guys as opposed to just pure assist makers, pure scorers. And while DeJounte is as well, DeJounte is a bit more of a natural playmaker and a natural point guard than, say, Austin Reeves, who's been playing shooting guard and small forward most of his career, and LeBron James, who's been playing power forward for the majority of his career. It just gives me more of a traditional point guard that thinks point guard, plays the position, and in theory should play good defense. Now, DeJounte, I have to upgrade my understanding that DeJounte's defense has not been as good as it was in San Antonio. Now that they have him playing the shooting guard position next to Trae Young, the defense has gone by the wayside. He's been getting blown past and all types of stuff. So he's going to have to, we're going to have to adjust our thinking as to what type of defender he's going to be on ball. But he can jump into passing lanes and get, transition buckets and stuff like that just as good as he used to. But as far as him locking people down, like, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, something like that, no, that's not who DeJounte is. So I've come to understand DeJounte a little bit better since these trade rumors have come around. I had an idea about who he was, and now I have a different idea about who he is, but I'm still interested in the player. And I can tell you I'm not willing to give up Austin Reeves, though, in a trade to receive him. I'm not looking to do that. I also ain't really looking to get rid of Max Christie either. I just think perimeter defense and athleticism is something you should want developing on your team. And a guy like Max Christie is not fully developed. He and DeJounte Murray are going to be a hell of a backcourt 3 years from now. So I'm going to try to get out of that conversation, having not moved Max Christie either. I just think they're like-bodied in a way, which is why Atlanta should want Max from us. Because if you're giving up DeJounte, you want an athlete. And Max is exactly that. But when you consider what Max can do defensively, I just think Max is going to develop into somebody like KCP one day. Maybe not as good of a three-point shooter, but definitely somebody who's going to have athleticism and the lockdown ability. And can do some things in the open court. So that's why I don't want to give away Max Christie when he's like 20 years old and hasn't developed yet, because I'm pretty sure 3 years from now, he's going to be a hell of a role player for us, or whoever he ends up going to. So, he ain't going to hold up a trade, but I'm going to try to maneuver around moving him this trade deadline. I just think if you want to move him, you want to wait a year. Wait until he develops a bit more. You're going to get twice as much for him. I almost promise you that. So that's my thing with Max Christie. I just know better. His upside is, it's not superstar or star or anything like that, but he's one of those covetable role players to where if you let teams buy low on him, you'll regret it. I really believe that. And just reverting back to the rest of the trade that was mentioned on his on the content that I just got through seeing. OG Anunoby, people are going to have to upgrade their understanding of what OG Anunoby is going to be going forward. As we've talked about on this channel, there are a lot of players out there who were stars yesterday, but overnight are now role players. And I think OG Anunoby is one of those guys, man. I think he's one of them dudes where you're going to have to be like, yo, whatever you thought he was going to be, knock that down a few notches, because he's not going to be that going forward. The thing about OG Anunoby that people got to understand is that he was always injury prone, man. Always. If I'm not mistaken, when he won his championship, he was hurt. He was not on the floor. If I'm not mistaken, for the run that Kawhi had, OG wasn't out there, man. And every season I can think of, OG Anunoby's missing games. So while he wouldn't be coming to the Lakers, it's not relevant to us. For those who want to move him around and bring him to the team and all that, I just think he's one of those dudes who's about 5 minutes away from being a role player that really, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say he's not going to help you, but I just don't expect him to play more than 50 games, and I don't expect him to give me more than 15 points. Now, there are going to be stretches where he's going to go for 30. There's going to be stretches where he plays good defense. But who he used to be before all the injuries and stuff, that's not who he's going to be from here on out. But he's definitely going to be paid like that, because most teams ain't going to – somebody's going to end up just being the patsy when it comes to that player, man. And so that's, as we've talked about on this channel, one of those guys where it's like you better update your data on that guy. Yes, he was a star, but if you're going to pay him $30 million a year, you're going to be the team that wish you didn't. Knock that down to about 15 if you ask me, because that's all I'm expecting him to do. He's going to be a nice player, but if you expect him to be your number 3 or something like that, hell no. Hell no. He's like a number 5, maybe even your 6th man at this point. A very good one, but he's not what he used to be, and I think that a guy like Masai Ujiri is going to try to sell him as if he's still that guy, and so I don't want my team to get caught up in that. He's not worth a first rounder. He's not worth Rui Hachimura and all that. No, he's not worth any of that to me no more. I'm just being honest. OG Anunoby is one of them dudes where it's like, okay, he's falling off a cliff. Not completely as to where he's on the ground, but like it's just at a point where it's like for what he's going to be paid versus who he is right now. Yeah, no, he ain't that right now. He's not that no more. So, you know what I mean? It's all about upgrading your understanding of who players are. Just like I got to upgrade my understanding of DeJounte Murray, I think a lot of the NBA's got to upgrade their understanding of OG Anunoby. Because this isn't, who he was 3 years ago for the Toronto Raptors, that's just not who he's been, man. Now, maybe he can get back into best shape and make me feel foolish for saying this. I don't know. But judging by how many injury issues he's had over the years, nah, man. Nah, he's one of those stars that ain't a star like that right now. So that's what I got to say about that, man. But as far as the rest of that trade, just looking at the Knicks, I think it's a good chance the Knicks say no to DeJounte Murray if it's going to cost them overpaying to get him because of the Leon Rose possibility, that beef there. Maybe, the Atlanta Hawks up the price, in such a way that makes it so that the Knicks are doing too much to get him. I just don't think the Knicks really have to do that. The Knicks have all the first round picks in the world, but if they know they're going to be bidding against us, they ain't going to incorporate none of them picks. That's the thing. How bad do you want to outbid the Lakers for this player is what Leon Rose would have to answer for his franchise. And to be honest with you, they may like DeJounte Murray. They may even think he's the best player to put next to Jalen Brunson. But once you start talking about giving up Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Hartenstein, that's when you have to wonder if the Knicks are losing their damn mind. To be completely honest with you, that's when you have to wonder, are y'all crazy? Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know that Quickley ain't going to be better than DeJounte. Straight up. Quickley, with 30 minutes a night, may be better than DeJounte Murray. With 30 minutes a night. He may be. Because that's how good Quickley has been in certain spurts of time, and he never gets the starting nod. He's just one of them dudes that's stuck in a situation where all you got to do is give him the ball and get out the way, and he could be your best player. But because they got so many guards, obviously Jalen Brunson, who they paid all the money to and who's proven himself to be a superstar level player, Quickley's just not able to step up from behind that role. But if you give him a role where he's getting 30, 34 minutes a night, look out. Look out. He's one of those. And so because I know that, I think that's absolutely insane giving him up and RJ Barrett for DeJounte Murray, especially since Clint Capella, like OG Anunoby, ain't who he used to be. And this is coming from somebody who likes Clint Capella a lot. I would have drafted him in the second round back in the draft. He was one of my favorite picks for that year. I did some homework that year on him and immediately was a fan of his. But it's been a lot of years since then, a lot of injuries since then. And even though he's a nice player, he ain't what he used to be with the Rockets. He ain't that guy. So yeah, I'm not overly enthused if I'm the Knicks giving up 3 energetic youngsters and bringing back only DeJounte and Clint Capella. I'm not doing that. RJ Barrett, I think RJ Barrett makes Atlanta a lot better too. That trade makes Atlanta a lot better, man. And I just don't see the Knicks doing that. I don't see the Knicks valuing DeJounte Murray, even though his contract's good. I don't see them valuing him like that. So I think that the chances of the Lakers winning that battle, unless there's another team that comes in, is pretty high, man. And given the fact this is clutch, they're going to want to funnel him to the Lakers. So this is one of them situations where I'm looking at the Lakers, I'm saying, keep Austin out of this deal if possible. I don't know that Max holds up the deal, but if we can get away with not giving up Max, I think that's a good idea. D'Lo and pick for DeJounte Murray would be wonderful. Maybe we can even throw in a Christian Wood and a bunch of other stuff that we don't want to make the salaries match. And maybe, let me make this clear. Clint Capella for us is good. If we can get Clint Capella, that's a good thing. Make that, just because he ain't who he used to be and just because I don't think he's good for the Knicks does not mean I don't think he's good for us. We need a center bad, so please don't get what I'm saying misconstrued. We should want Clint Capella at whatever capacity he is right now because he upgrades us significantly from what we have at the backup center position. And maybe even allows us to start him and AD next to one another, which I don't really love. The shooting looks crazy there. But nevertheless, I think as a backup for where we're at and for what we want to do, Clint Capella can really help us a lot. So that assessment is strictly about where I think he is versus where he was and what I would do if I was a Knicks. But as the Lakers, yes, you want to bring both of them back if possible. And if you're giving up wings, you might want to try to bring back DeAndre Hunter or something like that. because I know they're tired of DeAndre Hunter over there. He ain't valued at what he was when we drafted him for them. I don't know that I love his piece, but I think he could be like Torian Prince for us. You know what I mean? A little better than Torian. Definitely a nice catch and shoot piece, if nothing else. I don't know if I want him starting, but with the injury issues and stuff like that, I think he's at a price tag that you might be able to acquire, especially if we're gonna be sending out wings. If you're gonna be sending out Max Christie or something like that, it might be in your best interest to bring back DeAndre Hunter. Although, if I'm Atlanta, I'm not saying that is a straight up good trade or nothing like that. I'm just saying, try to swing that. You know what I mean? For the shooting, because we could use some more shooting. And I think that one thing that I know about DeAndre Hunter is if he can't do nothing else, he can catch and shoot. He can definitely do that. So, yeah, man, just things I'm thinking about if I'm paying attention to the Atlanta Hawks, man. Another team to pay attention to, of course, is the Detroit Pistons. They're going to have to get active. Now, I don't know what they want to do. My mind went straight to Brooklyn. A lot of talk about the Lakers getting Dorian Finney-Smith maybe, or possibly trying to swing it so that we can get Royce O'Neal. I love those players for us. I also love those players for Detroit. I do. I think Detroit should try to bring themselves some guys like that who can do two-way things if at all possible. Maybe get rid of one of their young kids and bring back some wings. Because the more I study the Pistons, the more I realize they just forgo the entire wing position. I mean, they're playing Bogey and Kevin Knotts. And while Kevin Knotts has played pretty solid for them, they could definitely use a Dorian Finney-Smith in there to straighten things out. And so I think the Detroit Pistons should be looking to try to make a move with the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know what they have that the Brooklyn Nets would necessarily want, but I'm sure something. Jaden Ivey or something. I'm sure something. But they should. That's the type of pieces I would want. OG Anunoby actually would probably be good for Detroit too, because you just need wings up there, guys who can catch and shoot, guys who can take pressure off of what's the fella, Cade Cunningham, and just create the spacing that they don't have up there. So that's something that just kind of floated into my mind a little earlier. Dorian Finney-Smith, if the Lakers can make a trade to get smaller pieces instead of a DeJounte Murray or Zach LaVine, I don't think I would hate that at all. I don't think I would hate that, man. Especially if it can keep us from having to give up first-round picks and Max Christie and all of that. If we can make trades to get our garbage off of our team to fit, in players that can help us who are role players, I do think that's quite a score for the Lakers, man. And LaVine, I was listening, and once again, as it stands, he was in that same conversation, making a strong case for trying to bring in Zach LaVine. I mean, from his angle, it makes sense to want a catch and shoot player, somebody who can ISO and go get himself a bucket and all these different things. And if I expect Zach LaVine to be healthy, I know he can do that. But for his price tag and the fact that he doesn't make anybody better, and the fact that you do force LeBron James to be the facilitator in that situation, because he's definitely not going to do that, especially if you're sending out D'Lo. I don't think the pros outweigh the cons, man, even after listening to his argument, which was a strong argument for having a player who can light it up and get his own bucket and just go to town. But I would feel a lot more confident if I didn't have such little faith in the combination of Zach LaVine making good decisions and being durable enough to stay on the floor. If he were durable, I could live with the lack of decision making. If he was a genius, I could live with the fact that he may not be all that durable. But all them two things coupled with the contract, I would rather not, man. I would rather not. I'm just cool on Zach LaVine, y'all. I encourage everybody to go check out As It Stands, because he made a great case. I was sitting there listening like, yeah. But at the end of the day, man, I don't see us playing $40 million for a guy who I expect to only play like 50 games a season. And when you couple that with how I've seen him play poorly in certain situations, I just don't want him to be my number 3. I don't trust him to be my number 3, man. I don't trust him to be my number 3. I don't think he's going to make me any more happy than D'Lo, in just different ways. And so if I don't think that much of you as a player and you're paid twice as what it is you're probably supposed to be making, then chances are I'm best for just leaving you where you are, man. And if Zach LaVine wants to come here as a free agent, we could sign him to a $20 million deal. Then that's cost for what it is you expect him to do. But as long as he's paid at what Chicago paid him, I don't think you can afford to do it. Why? Because when you acquire his contract, now you're on the hook for whether or not you can move it. And that's the problem. It ain't about whether or not he's going to fit the team. He may fit the team. The question is, when we get him here, if we want to move him, will anybody want that contract? Or will we have a bad contract that nobody wants and have to take back pennies for it? And while you may say we're only giving up small amounts to get the contract, it's because the contract isn't desirable. The contract, you want stuff that's going to get better in your uniform. You want stuff that you can trade for twice the cost, if at all possible. Not just something that's going to fit your roster need for a specific year. Because once that year is over and the roster moves around, especially if LeBron signs somewhere else, now you got to try to turn what you have into something that makes sense. And if you can't move what you have for nothing but for pennies on the dollar because it's overpaid, then you're not getting back the return you need to move your situation forward. And that's my problem with Zach LaVine's contract. It's not a valuable contract. That's why it's so cheap. You ever heard the saying, you get what you pay for? If you're going to buy something cheap, you got to know why it's cheap, man. You got to know why it don't cost nothing to get. And you got to put yourself in the shoes of the people who are trying to get rid of it. They don't want to take back little to nothing for that contract. They're stuck doing so. That's why it's so easy for you to receive, because nobody wants it. So for me, it's like, if we can't make Zach LaVine better when he gets here, which you're not going to. He's going to be who he is. Everybody knows he can score 50 right now. Everybody knows he can go for 7 threes right now. You know, he ain't going to shock the world when he does these things in your uniform the 1 or 3 times he does it. And you're also not going to be shocked for the fact that he's going to be hurt. You're not going to be shocked by the fact that he goes 1 for 6 in a big game. You're not going to be shocked by any of that, because he's already shown you who he is. And you couple that with the fact that he's literally injured right now with a foot injury, it's not worth it to me, man. Especially when I have the mentality that I can find a young player that nobody's using for half the price and get some of that same production. That's my thing with Zach LaVine. Yeah, he's a fantastic catch and shoot player. Yeah, he's got athleticism beyond understanding. But he also has knee injuries, foot injuries, and I've seen him play poorly too often. Too often. To just be like, yeah, man, he's that dude. He is that dude. That's why he's an all-star level player. When it comes to certain things, he's going to have that 50-point game, that 8 3-point shot game. It's coming. He's going to have nights where he go for 37, 38, and then 2 weeks later he goes down with an injury and he's out for 3 weeks. Like, I just know better, fam. That's the problem with Zach LaVine. I know better. He going to fit this roster, and if he's healthy and he's playing his best, then you're happy you have him. But some stuff just comes with some guys, man. Sometimes people have just proven who they are in this league. You don't have to wonder what you're getting from them, because they've already shown you their best and they've already shown you their worst. And when it comes to Zach LaVine, I've seen it. It's already there, man. We know who that is. And so that's my thing with him. Zero upside. Overpaid contract. I'm good. I don't need that stuff. I need something else that's going to make me better, just in case LeBron James decides to go to the Magic because his son gets drafted to the Magic, and all of his value goes out the window. Now I know, at least if I have DeJounte Murray, DeJounte's got a good contract. A team like the Knicks want him. I can get at least 2 picks from the Knicks if they decide they want to get him next year in that situation. You know what I mean? As opposed to Zach LaVine. Now I'm trying to shop this dude. Who wants him? Sacramento? I might get back Malik Monk. You know what I'm saying? I might be able to get old Harrison Barnes. I'm not signing up for that just so I can complete this team, when I legitimately believe we gonna get to the playoffs and he gonna have some disappearing acts on both sides of the floor. Like, if I think that's gonna come, why am I signing up for that? And that's my problem. I genuinely think that's coming. And so for me, it's like, nah, man. Now, another name I've heard that hasn't been going around a lot, and it's two names I'm going to mention in this vein, but one of them is over there in Charlotte. Um, his name always escapes me, but I know that this player plays hard. Used to play for the Boston Celtics. Um, he shoots the ball. My God, I hate when this happens. And the other is Young Bull. Young Bull is healthy now. He's had some real knee injuries. You know, Young Bull, his name is Colin Sexton, for those who are wondering. Uh, over there in Utah, and he's playing hard. He's dunking the ball. He's hustling. He always plays at 1,000,000 miles per hour, and he takes the defensive side of the ball very seriously while being able to score 30 points in the offensive end. Now, his injury issues, I'd be a hypocrite for saying I don't trust Zach LaVine to stay healthy and then bring in Colin Sexton. But I don't think Colin Sexton is going to cost you very much. And the other player that I wanted to mention in Charlotte is Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier is a hustled guy, man, a big shot maker. Problem is, injury prone as well. He misses games every 3 weeks. But I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that he plays for the Charlotte Hornets, which are a bad franchise with a lot of guards. So anytime he rolls an ankle, they probably want to showcase guys like Nick Smith. Probably want to showcase other guards, you know, Book Knight and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to say if his injury issues would be handled the same way here, if he misses much games on our team, etc. I don't know. But I can tell you this. Those are two players you want on your team. Now, Rozier's contract, I think he's getting paid like 35, 40 million a year. It's back when Michael Jordan was playing people stupid. So I don't know if you really want that contract, but I'm pretty sure it's almost near the end of it now. So, you know, you're only on the hook for that probably at the most for another 2 years. And I think that's pretty good for Terry Rozier if you expect him to be a part of a winning situation. Because he's been waiting to be a part of that, and he never has. And so he was with the Boston Celtics playing third string point guard behind 1,000,000 people right before the Celtics really started getting good. Ended up in Charlotte. Charlotte's been bad the whole time. But he's been good with the minutes given. Unfortunately, just injured all the time. So Terry Rozier, I think, would be a fantastic Laker, man. I think he would be a fantastic Laker. He's one of those guys who has a fiery personality, but has honed it in really well, maturely. He ain't going to come in acting crazy, but he is going to show a whole lot of fight on the court. And I just think Young Bull is the exact same way. They're both guys that I can trust are going to hustle, play hard every night, and still fire into our team. And, you know, with Rozier, you can trust him to play the two guard, play off the ball, catch and shoot very well, hit last second shots, stuff like that. And play the one, set up your point guard position. Both of these guys should be, in theory, good defenders, although I don't really know how well Terry plays D these days. But back when he was a Celtic, that was one of the things he was good at. So, you know what I mean? These guys are both banged up. Have been banged up, rather. I think Colin Sexton, like I said, he's healthy right now. But, you know, he's been banged up. He hasn't been himself in a couple of years. And it's a good time to buy low on Colin Sexton right before he takes off and turns back into the Young Bull. Because that's exactly what he's turning into right now. And, you know, you don't bring these guys in for durability, but you do bring them in for big game situations and playoff situations. And I just think Colin Sexton and Terry Rozier, in a perfect world, I just bring them both to me, man. I just bring them both to me for what it is that we need, the fight and the heart that is lacking, and the intensity in our backcourt that's just not there. I'd love to have both of them dudes. You know, but unfortunately they both play the same position. They're both a little smaller guys, so I don't know that that's the greatest backcourt. But just in terms of what I want on my team, the type of personalities and type of fire, type of shot making I think I can bring to myself, I'll take both of those guys on my team any day. So that's something I want to say. Terry Rozier and Colin Sexton, man, they're on my wish list as players I'd like to not overpay for, because I think they can help us win a championship. I legitimately believe that. You know what I mean? And as far as like the athleticism and stuff like that, I don't think either one of them jumping out the gym or nothing like that. They're not higher tier players than DeJounte Murray or Zach LaVine, I don't believe. Although one could argue that Terry Rozier actually is on that level. But nevertheless, these are guys to consider about for any team when you want to bring in somebody who's going to light a fire underneath your squad and not settle for all that ineptitude and low energy on the floor. You can count on both of them to bring that. So that's something I wanted to throw into this video. I think they both could potentially be on the block, maybe even obtainable for the LA Lakers. I think both of them could be. So yeah, man. I think the Pistons need to be looking at both of them dudes too. The Pistons need both of them dudes to just have pride about not losing. You need guys that are going to come in with a chip on their shoulder, who are going to look at your record and say, we're going to win at least 12 games this season. You know what I mean? And if I'm the GM of the Detroit Pistons, I'll probably bring both of them dudes to me just off the strength of that. They ain't going to be happy to be here, but they're going to take that anger out on the team that's going up against them. This type of stuff you need to do to break your losing streak. You're on a 27-game losing streak. Trade for Terry Rozier. Go get him, bring him to you. And see, don't that winning streak go out the window. That losing streak go out the window. It ain't, because he ain't going to allow it. This type of stuff, man. So, yeah, man. I'm anxious to see what trades are going to trickle down. Teams have been hesitant. I'm sure they're on the phones right now with these GMs back and forth trying to make things happen. Also, upgrade information. The New York Knicks do not get the Detroit Piston pick unless it comes outside of the 18th range. It is protected, severely protected by the Detroit Pistons. So they got lucky. They likely will keep their pick this year, but they will just tumble forward to 2027, just like ours did with the Lakers and the New Orleans pick. If for some reason if it doesn't fall into place this year, then tumble it forward to next year, tumble it forward to all the way to 27. But it's severely protected, so Detroit should be able to get their first round pick this season for their ineptitude, which is the best news for them. Problem is they can't trade none of their picks because of it. Until that pick is realized one way or another, it can't be moved. So from what I understand, based on the podcast I listened to today, the Detroit Pistons may be looking to try to make a trade with the New York Knicks to somehow get the pick back that they gave up to get Jalen Duren. And if they can get that pick back in their possession, they would immediately be able to make trades with their first round picks. So that might be the first order of business for their team, is to try everything they can to get that pick back, even if it means giving up something you don't want to give up, because it'll create that flexibility necessary to be able to move all of your assets properly. And as we've talked about on this channel in the past, if you have a stranglehold on a few assets, it can mean that you're getting lowball for the rest of your assets. This is why you don't take on a Bradley Beal contract, because it has a no trade clause on it. And because I know you have that no trade clause, I can lowball you for everything else that you have, given the fact that I know you can't move something that I would otherwise have access to on the other side of the table. So I'm docking you for that. And I don't think a lot of people understand that aspect of the market. But you don't want to have no trade clauses on your roster, because it'll make it so that the other stuff on your books is less likely to be valued properly. So yeah, if anybody paid attention to what KD did tonight, he had 16 assists, man. Speaking of the Bradley Beal contract over there in Phoenix, and as I said, KD could in theory want out of there. And I think with all the chatter surrounding his name this week, particularly people saying that he deserves better, I think he just kind of showed everybody what he can do from a facilitating perspective as a means of showcasing that aspect of his game. I don't know that him going off like he did tonight is a sign that he wants to stay in Phoenix, like a lot of people may take it, or that he's just irritated and finally showing everybody he can do it by himself. I don't think so. I think he wanted to show some teams that he can get 16 assists, he can facilitate, which has always been one of the more underrated aspects of his game. He never gets enough credit for the assists that he's made. He's been doing this since OKC, man. That's why I'm not surprised to see him get 16 assists, because he's a very severely underrated facilitator. He's always been able to do it. Never had problems making passes, not to my eyesight. So, with that being said, I heard a rumor today that he and LeBron James have been discussing teaming up together. I don't know if that should take that with any truth. I don't know how long ago they may have had that conversation, if it was had at all. For all I know, they had that conversation back when he was in Cleveland and KD was in OKC. So I take a lot of that with a grain of salt. But what I can say is, I would love to have KD in the purple and gold. I would, man. I would love to have him next to AD and LeBron James. I'd give up the farm to make that happen. I'd give up Austin. I'd give up Rui. I'd give up all the picks. I'd give up Jalen. I'd give up everything I got. I'd send it all to Phoenix to get KD on this team. Because I think you could put me and a few of my buddies on the team, and if our front court is AD, KD, and Bron, we're going to win the championship. I legitimately believe that. I don't think you can stop those guys at all. Too much length, too much intelligence, too much efficiency shooting the ball, too much efficiency defensively. They would be absolutely impossible. So I don't know if KD has that in mind. I'm pretty damn certain the Lakers could not outbid other teams for KD. I don't doubt that the other teams would kill us in an arms race for KD packages. But if KD wants to force his way to LA and demands that Bron and AD be here, we could break the league like the Dodgers are breaking the league in the MLB. It would break the league, man. Straight up. I'm sorry, Boston. Sorry, Minnesota, all you teams. You ain't stopping that. You give us the most efficient scorer, maybe arguably in NBA history. You put that next to LeBron James, who's playing this well. You put that next to AD, who's basically Defensive Player of the Year. It's over. It's over. It is all over. And for me, looking at AD, or rather KD, get 16 assists, spoke to the need for us to not have to bring in a facilitator if for some reason we have to gut our team to bring him in. Call me a self-centered Laker fan, but that is exactly how I looked at them 16 assists. That tells me that Bron is not the only person who can facilitate the ball to AD. So if you need to move on from D'Lo and Austin, you can do that because I can get 16 assists. That's what I took from it. Call me crazy, man. That is exactly what I felt KD was telling us. And I know he's probably be like, no, I'm not. But that's how my Laker brain took it, man. I took it that exact way. And so that's what I wanted to say, man. I'm glad I was able to make this video. I hope the Lakers are able to do something spectacular. But even if we make smaller moves, if they can make us marginally better, I would love for us to do that. KD wants to be a Laker, I'd love to have him. If DeJounte wants to be a Laker, I'd love to have him. If Zach LaVine wants to restructure his contract, I'd love to have him. You know what I mean? It's none of these players that I think would be bad fits. Everybody I mentioned today would be a solid fit. Clint Capella, Dorian Finney-Smith, all of these dudes. Young Bull. I would love to have all these dudes in purple and gold for a contract that I think works for us. But if they're overpaid or if we have to give up everything to get them, if their name ain't KD or something greater, I'm not up for it. And one more thing. What happened tonight, Dallas? What happened tonight, Dallas? Y'all gave up a 15-0 run to the Cleveland Cavaliers without all of their players? Like the only two players out there was basically Caris LeVert and Jared Allen. And they went crazy on y'all in the fourth quarter after having a 20-point lead in the half. I know Kyrie wasn't out there, but if I'm Luka the Don, I'm looking at my role players and I'm saying y'all ain't good enough. Y'all are not good enough. BDL 44, I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.